I've seen some people on Denpa-chan mention the fact that they find the self-loathing and at the same time self-aggrandizing nature of a lot of the people in NEET spaces annoying, and they don't like the fact that they get lumped in with those people or associated with those people. But as I've said many times on this channel, being a NEET is just not being in education, employment, or training. And depending on the community that you're looking at, there are going to be people who have other problems that wind up in there to discuss it. I think one of the big reasons this happens is because there are people online that are looking for an identity that don't really have one, and so they take this lifestyle and aesthetic, if you want to call it that, that is fun and interesting to a lot of us, and they really latch onto it to try and make up for whatever is like empty inside of them. But because they've got that empty space in there that they're trying to fill with stuff, they end up just regurgitating all those negative sentiments that they're trying to deal with out to the rest of us in these NEET spaces. Like, I remember when the NEET spaces online used to be people dunking on the normies because they were so excited that they got NEET bucks, or talking about the last game that they completed, or talking about the fun ways that they spend their time, including the productive ways that they spend their time. In fact, on one of my favorite boards on 8chan, back when 8chan still existed, the Hiki board, there was this entire thread dedicated to what is now probably my biggest hobby, language learning, where you had loads of people that had learned Japanese to fluency after being in their room for years, people who had learned German, people who had learned English in many cases, and it was this fun kind of thing to witness, because here you saw people that, because they had so much time at their disposal, they were able to effectively utilize it for something that's good for the brain, something that opens doors both online and in the physical world, and something that brings with it a lot of positive feelings. You know, it makes you feel good about yourself, good about your life. It makes you have the sensation that you're accomplishing something, you know, aside from the cognitive benefits that we like to talk about. And that was a fun thing to catch on the internet, to see, you know, in the midst of some of the negative things that can be happening, here's a group of people that is determined and self-motivated in spite of whatever things might exist in their past or in their circumstances. Taking advantage of the liberties and privileges that they do have that a lot of people in the world don't get to have, you know? That's the other aspect of this. It's like, we're really quite privileged to be able to have as much time as we do, to be able to do the things that we care about and like. And there are people that face anhedonia and don't have things that they like, but that doesn't really have anything to do with being in need as much as it does with, you know, the circumstances of that individual. But what I dislike is the way in which being a NEET has been like inextricably associated with those people that don't really have any interest in improving, don't really care about their life, don't really want to have any fun, don't really find anything fun. They just want to complain all the time. And it's really bizarre to me to watch this play out, because like, when I first got into these spaces, which was at this point years ago now, like at this point almost a decade ago now, which is crazy to think about, I didn't notice so much of this. I think something happened after COVID, or the Great Plague, as I sometimes call it. There was this thing that happened where all of these people that were otherwise unfamiliar with this lifestyle, or didn't want to live that way, got it in their head that they could or that they should. And a lot of the cool people either disappeared from the internet, or, you know, they kept living that way, and now they're just complaining about it the way that I am. Which, it's very neat of me to be doing that. It's like I'm complaining about the fact that other people are complaining. So in a way, I'm fulfilling the stereotype of being a guy that complains about things. But I don't do it all the time. I only do it in this very narrow context. So I might be saved from filling the role, but who knows? But anyway, it's this weird situation. It's this very weird situation where so many on the internet, a place that I once loved very much, that I don't love so much anymore and spend little time on these days, have these negative fixations that they spam the boards with, that they talk about all the time. And I can't help but find it all just to be very infantile and childish, because beyond the fact that there are likely worse problems that even you yourself have, forget about the world, forget about other people, like even just in your own life, you could be focusing on better things than, oh, I hate that that I don't have a job, or oh, I hate that I'm fat and lazy, or oh, I hate that I'm gay. It's like, maybe I hate that you're gay. Who cares? It's like, who cares, man? I don't understand this. Like the obsession with constantly putting oneself down and turning every conversation into some vent session where, you're on blast for being the worst human on earth. It's like, I don't understand this. And I think it comes from a type of narcissism or self-obsession that leads one to believe that it's really important for them to be a good person, right? Like there's like this obsession that some people have with, like, I gotta be good. I've really gotta be good because I'm doing all these things that I think are bad, and that's bad. And like, man, if you really wanted to be the kind of person you're always talking about, then you would just do it. Like if this was an authentic desire that you had, like I've seen posts of people, for example, complaining about how bad they feel about, I don't know, like, oh, I yelled at my mom or something, but she gives me all this stuff, blah, blah, blah. It's like, yeah, you shouldn't do that. I don't do that. But like, there are people that'll go online and complain about this type of stuff like it's this, like it's this thing that they really, really care about, that they're so invested in. And I find it amazing because, like, if I did that, I would not feel as though I had reserved the right to complain about it. I would feel like it was something I needed to change about myself, and I needed to be a different person if I were behaving in that way, in whatever way. I just threw out a random example, but I often hear people complain about their behavior and something about who they are or whatever. And in that situation, there's two things you can do. You can accept it and you can own it, the way that I do in my videos, where I say, hell yeah, I'm a NEET, I have certain flaws too, and I talk openly about those. But ultimately, I try to be open about everything in my life and with me, even if it causes some ambiguity or confusion. It's all just in the name of transparency at the end of the day, trying to construct a channel that feels real and down to earth. But what you find in so many cases are people that don't really know who they are, don't really feel comfortable with it, and have trouble acknowledging on even the most basic level, in some cases, like what the world is around them. Like they spend so often in escapism and not utilizing their time to come to know themselves or to come to know other people, that when they end up having a conversation about this sort of stuff, they just regurgitate all these recycled negative thoughts that have been stewing and spinning in their heads, that are based out of a series of previous delusions that have gone unchallenged because they haven't engaged in any real self-help, or tried to analyze the biases behind the things that they say, and the possible mental illness reasons for why some of these these conclusions might be coming up. And so they just throw all this stuff out, and after they're done venting, they go right back to not addressing anything about themselves, not doing anything about their life, and escaping. And I can't do it with people like that. Now, maybe on an individual level, I can empathize and enjoy somebody's company, at the individual level outside of all of that stuff. But there is this thing this self-loathing that I feel like happens so often in the NEET space, that's just, I don't, like, at times it's annoying, but at other times it's just weird. It's just weird. It's hard for me to relate to. It's annoying in the sense that, if you have a space that you want to be in, that you want to be cool, and then it's like filled with these people, that's going to be annoying. And then the solution to that is just, okay, I'm going to go find another space. I'm going to go try to find somewhere else on the internet to hang out. But on another level, it just feels weird because you witness all these people that are just so self-loathing. They hate themselves so much. And if you can't relate to that, and you don't have those kinds of feelings about yourself, to just see that coming up again and again, and then like these people almost trying to like enforce it among each other, Nazi style, like trying to push one another down and enforce this code of conduct where you have to hate yourself even more. It's so weird, man. And I feel like it got into the NEET space around 2020 when the incel folks and all the looks maxing whoever people arrived into the community in a really strong way, like huge numbers we're talking, and they just never left. It was the biggest invasion of normies that has ever happened on the internet, possibly. Before those people existed, sure, they were always there and they were always annoying, but there used to be a lot more people that made fun of them. I feel like now the pill ideology and the looks-based shit, like, this is such an obsession among the people that inhabit these spaces, and it's just like, who cares, man? Literally, who cares? It's weird. It's very strange. Because I look at this and, like, I'm just like, I'm living my own life. I'm doing my own thing. I feel pretty good when I wake up. I have things that I care about, people that I care about, people that care about me. I have hobbies that I enjoy. I don't feel any kind of preoccupation about who I am. But there's like this weird insistence that like, no, it's actually not okay to be like this, that exists in these forms, in these spaces. And it's like, if you believe that, why don't you just be a different way? It's like when I said that I wanted to be somebody that ate better, or I wanted to be somebody that could speak a different language, I just did that. It's like I said on some level, I am this thing. I am this thing. I like doing this stuff, and I'm going to go after that. I integrated it into my identity. But if you're somebody that is just constantly talking about how bad you are, well, you don't want to be good. You want to be bad. That's what you identify with. That's what you're living. That's what you're repeating all the time. And if that's what you want to be, then stop complaining about it. At that point, just own it. Just be like, yeah, I am bad. But a lot of these people have this weird confusion about what they want or who they are or about who they aren't, or it's schizophrenic almost, the level to which these people go. And I just don't tolerate it, so I just don't read those posts these days. I talk about it on here as a warning almost to the people. It kind of pretentious to put it like that, but it sort of is, because there is this tendency that exists in these communities that just makes people annoying and unlikable and miserable, and it doesn't have to be like that. You can go a different way. You can form good habits. You can try to do things that make you genuinely happy in life. And the NEET lifestyle ultimately bestows upon the people a very good avenue by which you can do all that, because here you have an unlimited amount of time to dedicate to the things that you truly love, the people you truly love. And in that time, you can come to know yourself and the world around you better. You can develop skills that you can then use in the labor market if you want to go that way, if you want to do that. And so many other things. It's amazing. And it's a thing that so many people are desperate to have. That's the thing, too, about this. Like, look at the American dream, for example. The idea that if you work hard enough, eventually you can have your own business where other people do the work for you, where you can be at the top of the company and you're making all the money for the work that everybody else under you does. And there you have the free time to dedicate to the things that you really care about. And if you look at retirement, for example, people go their whole lives saving for retirement, hoping and wishing for those days in which they can finally take a load off and do whatever they've always wanted to do. But a lot of things could happen between now and then. What if you get hit by a bus? What if you have a heart attack? What if, I don't know, your house gets bombed, as some people have recently had to deal with? These are all things that can occur, some more or less likely than others, but they provide all the more reason to live your life now, if possible. If it's possible, you could just start living now. You could just start doing the things that you've always wanted to do now. And ultimately, that insistence on enjoying life, on focusing on what really matters to oneself, is one that I think is reasonable, especially in the world we're living in, that has so much negativity in it, and so many unnecessary struggles. I think some struggles are necessary. I think doing hard things in life is necessary. Don't get me wrong. But at the same time, there are so many unnecessarily painful rituals that get thrown at people. Torture, violence, all kinds of things in this world. And it's like, why not just unplug from all of that and focus on what really matters to you, and focus on challenging yourself in a way that is personally fulfilling, in a way that relates to something you care about? There's no reason not to do it. And it's bizarre to me that so many people on the internet are just not taking advantage of that time that they have, because it really is a waste. It's a shame. At that point, there's no reason not to just get a job. If you're not enjoying the time you're spending as a NEET, you can simply choose to not be one.